How many of you were here last week as we got started with the dangerous act of loving your neighbor and heard the story of Doris? Okay, most of you were here. A few of you didn't hear that story, which was the foundation for this six-part series, and we're hoping that we will be able to put a DVD of the service, or at least a CD of the service, up on YouTube so that you can catch up. We had some snafus with that, and I'm hoping we'll be able to get that to work this week. And I'm hoping we'll get technology all the way around to work today as well. The Dangerous Act of Neighbor, I want to give credit, is a book by Mark Laverton, a Presbyterian pastor in Berkeley mostly, is where he spent his ministry, and he is now professor of preaching at Fuller Seminary in Southern California as well. I will be borrowing a whole lot from his book. If you are interested in a copy of that book, it's available online, it's available in the bookstores. Mark Laverton, The Dangerous Act of Loving Your Neighbor, Seeing Others with the Eyes of Jesus is the subtitle for that. Let me continue by saying that when our granddaughter, Amanda, was old enough to know her numbers, but probably too young to really understand the concept of an address, I spent some time getting her to memorize her address. It seemed like a good thing for her to know at the time. But this series of numbers and names, she figured out, finally translated into her house, where she lived in Redondo Beach, California. At about that same time, I remember finding an old journal. And I opened the cover. I didn't remember this journal, and I opened the cover, and inside the cover, I remember finding these words: "If found, please return to David Eshe, 7 North Meadowbrook Drive, Geneseo, Illinois, 61254. But then USA, North America, Northern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere, Earth, Solar System, Cosmos." That was my address. That was where I lived. Today, we're going to spend some time focusing on where we live. And each of us as individuals live in a different address. Where we live, literally and figuratively, shapes the story of our lives. Think about it. Our racial, social, economic, educational, and spiritual locations are more important than our house numbers. I learned that lesson when I took a trip to the Dominican Republic in 1991 on the Heifer Project mission trip. I finally understood, it finally sunk in, that the rest of the world did not live at my address or even near my neighborhood. That trip was a tiny door opening for me into how it is to address, for how it is for me to understand how they live at their address. I live on this side of things, over here, in a world of middle-class white assumptions, and my heart has a long way to go to look and act like the heart of Jesus. That really sunk in. Where we live determines how we live. All of us live on this side of things, is how we might define it. our world looks pretty good most days. Yes, of course, we wish for better and for more. You know, a bigger, flatter TV, a nicer home, a new car. We wish for a more stable economy and a growing investment portfolio. More time would always be nice. But from this side of things, the world doesn't look so bad. All the basic elements of life are readily accessible for us. Think with me about the basic necessities. Food. Let's start there. Food for us is about choices and preferences. You know, there are thousands of new products made available every year for us to make choices and to develop preferences. Meals can be elaborate or simple. We can have them at home or we can have them out. Water. We've got water for drinking and bathing and showering and swimming and cooking and washing the cars and watering the lawn without a moment's hesitation. And it's clean, and it's drinkable, and it's refreshing. Food, water, flip the switch or plug it in, and we have electricity. Electricity means power in more ways than one. Shelter. We have a place to lay our heads, to organize our lives, to store our stuff. You know, a place to which our mail or visitors or emergency vehicles can arrive. And we're usually safe. The crisis of our lives on this side of things is the crisis of more. More. Life on this side of things is not about having some, it's almost always about having more. Life on this side of things, yes, has real pain and desperation for some, and for others. They can have all the things that life on this side of things affords and still find life difficult. They have all the stuff but still find life miserable. But when our lives don't suck, the world looks pretty good. And what's most invisible for us is often far more visible to those who look at the world from the other side of things. What they see is that we have access to these things and many other forms of power. We have the ability to choose, to prioritize, and to express ourselves. That's what it means to live on this side of things.